Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, lovers and seekers, those who are lost and those who are found. Tonight, I will be reading from the compilation titled Outlaw Creative, The Geometry of Life. Tonight we have something a little bit different, not too different, just a little bit different. Our topic, or rather, the title of tonight's reading is The Cat at the Bottom of the Wall. That's correct, the cat at the bottom of the wall. Fear not, the cat is fine and will be fine. So, how about we just get going and dig into it? Let's get started. Let's begin. And, as a textual note, the cat is the one doing the speaking. The cat is our in situ narrator. And so, again, let's begin. I live at the bottom of the wall. Not all the time, of course. Sometimes I am in the cabinet. Sometimes I am behind the curtain. Sometimes under the red chair. But when things get interesting, when the air goes thin and proud and high, I pad my way back to the bricks and sit where the shadow ends. You walk in muttering, "Where's that motherfucking cat?" I hear you every time. You think I'm hiding from you. I am not hiding. I am waiting. Because this is where the story always lands. Not at the top of the wall. Not in the middle of the climb, but here, where everything that thought it could balance forever remembers what down means. Gravity is what pulls you down. The cat is what remembers how you got up there. People tell that little rhyme like it's about bad luck. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. They say it with that sing-song tone, as if the egg was minding his own business and tragedy just happened to him. No, I have watched your kind a very long time. Humpty does not just happen. First the wall appears, the vantage point, the platform, the view. Then the itch begins. It would be nice to be a little higher. It would be nice to be above all this. It would be nice if they had to look up when they said my name. And then the justifications. It's only a little climb. I know what I'm doing. Others do it all the time. I deserve this view. I watch the same choreography, over and over, the glance at the wall, the measuring, the first hand on the brick, the moment of doubt, the moment of pride that eats the doubt. By the time you are sitting up there swinging your legs, gravity has already written the last line. The only variables left are how and when. This is where my work begins, not to save, never to save. I am not one of the king's horses. I don't do resurrections or cleanups or miracle glue. I am the ledger that walks and listens. I remember how you got up there, the argument you swallowed to feel righteous, the warning you dismissed because it came from a smaller voice, the small lie you told yourself and dressed in Sunday clothes. I remember the friend you didn't believe, the plane you got onto with a pilot whose hands were already shaking, the storm you called fine because the tickets were non-refundable and your pride was already packed. You call it getting humptied now. Good. Name it properly. Getting humptied is not just falling. It is falling from a height you had no business calling home and discovering that all the king's resources cannot give you back the shell you traded for the view. I see three main types down here at my post. First, the proud ones. They climb because they like the angle. They like the feeling that other people are small. They rehearse their speeches up there, imagining how wise they sound from above. When they fall, it is noisy. There is rage in the breaking and disbelief in the ooze. How could this happen? I did everything right. I had the right opinions. I read the right books. I stood on the right side. But gravity does not major in politics or aesthetics. It is not impressed by your theory of the world. It only knows mass and height, and it has an excellent memory for both. The proud ones are my least favorite. They insist, even as they crack, that the wall wronged them. Still, I remember the first time they touched the brick. They were smaller then. Their voice had a tremor of honesty. Will this really make me whole? Second, the borrowed ones. These don't climb their own walls. They climb someone else's. A charismatic captain says, "I can fly this in bad weather, just on instruments. Trust me," and they do. They hand over their doubt like a boarding pass, sit down and fasten the belt of borrowed confidence. When they get humptied, they hit the ground with an extra layer of shock, but I believed him. But she promised. But they said it was safe. I have watched some of these for years. I remember the night they knew something was off. The tightening in the chest. The phrase, "This doesn't seem right." The way they laughed it away, because it is hard to step down from a wall that everyone else insists is the place to be. I do not blame them as much as the proud ones. Still, gravity does not distinguish between arrogance owned and arrogance outsourced. The ground is impartial. The crack sounds the same. Third, the chosen ones, not chosen by a king, not sacred in any official sense. These are the ones who know full well they could break and climb anyway, not for a show, not for applause, but for love. They risk a higher vantage because there is someone up there they need to reach, or something they need to carry down, or a word that has to be spoken from the edge itself. They are not better eggs, just more honest. They do not say, "I won't fall." They say, "If I fall, let it mean something." And when they get humptied, it is quieter. The kingdom still sends out the horses, of course. There will always be a committee for visible tragedies. There will always be glue and tape and speeches. But the chosen ones rarely sign up for the reconstruction circus. They lie on the ground, leaking, and if you listen closely, you will hear it well. I knew this was a possible ending, and I still would not trade the climb. These are the only ones I sit very close to. Not to fix, just to accompany. Do I ever warn you? Sometimes. A tail flick like a no. A stare that lingers a moment too long on your hand on the brick. A sudden appearance at the bottom of the wall, eyes narrow, pupils like twin keyholes. You rarely understand the language. You call it bad vibes. You say the cat is acting weird. Then you climb anyway. You are not required to obey the animal in the room. I know that. I am not the authority. I am the register. But I keep leaving you signs. The clench in your spine when you repeat a lie. The sourness in your mouth when you praise someone you secretly fear. The sudden wind that feels like a stop you can't quite name. These are small meows in human form. You can ignore them. Many do. Gravity will take its time. It is patient. It has nowhere else to be. You are right about one thing. The worst part is not the fall itself. The worst part is the discovery that all the king's horses and all the king's men are not what you thought they were. You believed in the cavalry. You believed in the rescue. You thought there would always be enough money, enough medicine, enough forgiveness, enough second chances to unbreak what you carelessly broke. Down here, I watched those beliefs crack one by one. The institution cannot save the marriage it taught you to neglect. The clever story cannot save the child who believed your promise. The late insight cannot unsay the words you sharpened and threw for sport. This is the Humpty line, the point beyond which nothing external can restore the old life. You can go on, yes. You can grow. You can become strange and beautiful and truer than before. But you cannot go back. And that is why getting humptied is such a terror to you. It is not death you fear, it is irreversibility. On this point, gravity and I agree. What is done is done. So why am I talking to you at all? Because there is still one freedom left. Before you climb, you can choose which walls you treat as worth the fall. You can decide that it is not acceptable to get humptied over ego, over borrowed bravado, over the thrill of feeling taller than the room. If you must break, and you must one day in some way, let the crack trace the outline of love, not vanity. If the kingdom's resources cannot save you anyway, then do not waste your shell on a view you don't even like. Sit with that before you touch the brick. It is late now. The wall is still there, it has time. Gravity is patient, it always gets what it's owed. As for me, I will be in the cabinet, behind the curtain, under the red chair, or right here at the bottom of the wall, waiting to see who climbs next, and for what. Gravity is what pulls you down. The cat is what remembers how you got up there, and I remember everything.